Hi, and welcome to the SalesRX podcast. We provide actionable insights for revenue professionals looking to find the right prescription in their sales process. So let's jump right in. First-time listeners to the SalesRX podcast. I'm your host and your sales doctor, Chet Lovegren. And I have to say, I am incredibly excited about today's episode where we're going to be discussing topics around keeping the energy, especially in sales as things get really tough. My guest today is the founder and CEO, also known as Chief Energy Officer of LLJR Enterprises, focused on sales motivation and inspiration. He is the host of the Midweek Midday Motivational Minute, co-author of Color Outside the Lines, and the author of JOLT, coming out in spring 2022, Mr. Larry Long Jr. Larry, what's going on, man?
Is the doctor in the house? What's up, Chet? I am happy to be here, man. Thank you so much for allowing me to join the SalesRX podcast. LLJR in the house.
Yes. Yes, sir. Larry, one of the big reasons I wanted to bring you on is we've talked about this a little bit, but man, I've been engaging with your content and watching on LinkedIn for over 6 months now. And every time you post something on LinkedIn, I can feel your energy, man. You probably have one of the most infectious attitudes and smiles around. And like I was telling my wife, if I'm having a bad day, I go and check this guy's LinkedIn out, because it just makes me feel better. Like whether you're smiling at the Masters or you're on somebody's podcast eating terribly flavored jelly beans, or even if, like you're around other content creators, having conversations and giving that time to others, like everything you do really motivates me. And I love that your title is Chief Energy Officer, because to me, it's like a no-brainer. It just makes sense. But I'm really excited to have you here today, especially because we were talking earlier before the podcast about how hard sales is, especially when you're in like an SDR role or you're younger in your AE career, or even for some tenured sales professionals that have done it for a long time. It's easy to get that burnout. It's easy to get down. And I figured that, Larry he's the doctor's checking out for a minute, and we're going to bring in a new physician. Okay. And so I'm hanging up my robe, and I'm going to let you step in, because I'm going to go take sabbatical. Sound good?
I appreciate it, man. And we're going to keep our droplets to ourselves.
There you go.
They can see me on video, but we're going to spread the positivity and spread the energy, man.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. He's in the house. He's ready to rock. Larry, man, one thing I do want to dive into is I know you have a really awesome story in how you got here today, especially being out on your own, running your own business, and really impacting the lives of many people through sales and motivation. So give us the not 30,000 foot view, but give us like the 10,000 foot view. We want to go a little deeper. Give me the story of Larry Long Jr. and who he is.
Come on now, moved around a lot as a youngster, grew up in VA hospitals, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Grand Island, Nebraska, Danville, Illinois. I was born in Maryland. We went to Coatesville, Pennsylvania, then back to Maryland for middle school, high school, played baseball at University of Maryland. Go Terps.
There you go.
My father ran track there. My sister ran track there. I was the black sheep of the family, Chet. Literally and figuratively playing baseball. They were like, baseball? I said, yeah, you run after you hit the ball. They said, we'll let it slide, little Larry. But graduated, thought I was going to play pro baseball. Pro baseball said, survey says, nah, off to the working world. Did some IT consulting, wasn't passionate about it. It took me about 3.5 years to figure out that wasn't my passion. But I ended up moving down to North Kakalaki, good old Raleigh, North Carolina, and opened up an indoor baseball and softball academy, teaching youngsters the fundamentals of the game, but more importantly, the fundamentals of life. Well, one of the fundamentals of business is you can't have more money going out the back door than you have coming in the front door. So we ran out of cash and we ran out of business. So I said, oh, what am I going to do now? I don't want to go back to consulting. My buddy said, hey, there's this company. They love athletes. They hire a lot of Duke athletes. I said, oh, I went to Maryland. I can't mess with you Dukies, but I do need a job. So he said, interview, they'll hire you. And they did. Lo and behold, I was making 150 cold calls a day. They were ice cold calls to CPAs and accounting firms. Oh my goodness. I've never been in such a big slump. I think in my first week, I went 1-4. I got one sign up. I don't even think they showed up in like 770 something calls. I said, oh my, this is the biggest slump of my life. I had a manager. I won't say his name, but I see you, DT. He said, Larry, come into my office. I thought I was getting a raise. I said, oh, we're going to Sizzler. He said, Larry, the expectation is 150 calls a day. You made 148 yesterday. You do that again, I'm going to tell you like the Dodgers and the Red Sox told you, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. I said, goodly muggly. That's savage. You better believe I didn't make less than 150 calls going forward. But I had another manager, James Hatfield. I love you, Hattie. He said, hey, Larry, come into my office. He said, man, I like you. You got potential. You got a smile for a mile. He said, what I'm going to encourage is get rid of the script, flip the script, and just start talking to people like they're people. These accountants, they put on their pants just like everyone else. He said, you're reading the script like a robot. Hello, this is Larry Long Jr. calling with SageWorks and Profit Sense. Would you like to take a look at a demo? No, I had a guy, I'll never forget this prospect in New Jersey. He said, Larry, I got something for you. I thought I was getting a sign up. He said, I want you to put on 2 concrete shoes and jump off a bridge. I said, uh-oh, how do I overcome that objection? That's not in our manual. So I said, the first thing that came to mind, God bless you. You know what the heck to say back to him, but you're absolutely right. Sales is tough. I've had the opportunity to work for 8 different tech companies in sales, 10 different stops. 2 of the companies I left and I came back, I couldn't get enough. But I've been so fortunate to be a sales manager, sales leader, sales director. Now I get to impact sales professionals all over. Salesforce, VMware, Hootsuite, you name it. I have the opportunity to really sew into their sales professionals around mindset, mentality, perspective, and really taking care of self. I know that we want to be customer and prospect centric. As Bob Berg said, I got his book back there. We want to be go-givers, but if we don't give to ourselves, number one, Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah, I think that's so important in business. We forget about what we do in our personal lives really affects our professional life. And I have to say to all the listeners, if after that, you're not going to listen to the entire podcast, I don't know if the SalesRX community and the sales doctor is even for you. Because man, Larry just brought it. Larry just brought it. Amen. Larry, so in that journey that you've taken, obviously you've seen your goal of, or you've seen your fair share of challenges, right? And one thing that is very common now is the conversation around burnout. And there's a multitude of reasons that burnout happens. Maybe people lose clarity on what they want out of life, what they want out of their career. Maybe they're not learning anymore at their career. Maybe their manager just sucks, right? Maybe they're just like, I can't take another day of this. There's a variety of reasons that happens. Regardless of the reason, sometimes we still have to find a way to push through, right? Because what do you, like we were talking about Jim Rohn, what are you going to do? Go huddle in the corner with a sheet and we'll feed you 3 meals a day, remember, and so in your experience, I'm sure, especially, being an entrepreneur yourself, you've seen your fair share of challenges. What do you do when you start to feel that burnout coming? And what are some steps you take to help try to prevent that?
Yeah, life is tough. It's a 4-letter word. We all know that. Sales is tough. Business is tough. And we're all entrepreneurs. Whether you work for a company or not, you better own your business. You better treat it like a business. But burnout is real. And really, there's different reasons behind it. I've got a chapter in my book, JOLT, coming out in a few months. Essentially, you've got to make sure you're taking care of self. You got to make sure that you have a crystal clear why. Why do you wake up in the morning and why do you do what you do? Are you passionate behind it? Do you enjoy it? Do you enjoy the people that you're around? I always like to look in the mirror and I ask myself, hey, Larry, when it comes to your faith and spirituality, scale of 1 to 10, where are you at? When it comes to your family, where are you at? Your friends, your fitness, finances. Hey, money, it ain't the most important thing, but it is important. Fun. Are you having fun? If you're not having fun in life, and I know you got a comedy background, if you gonna have fun in life, what are you doing? Yeah. Philanthropy. I know that's not an F word, but I spell phonetically and frenetically. What are you doing in your community and then your career? Do you have your priorities aligned? I do a lot of coaching. I was working with a sales leader in Australia. I see you, Manan. He told me that fitness was his number 3. I said, hey, I love it. Let me see your fitness routine. Let me look at your schedule. And let me see when you work out. It was like a deer in headlights. Uh-oh, Houston, we got another problem. I said, dude, if that's your number 3 priority, don't you think you should be pumping some iron? Don't you think you should be getting on the boxing bag? I said, hey, let's go ahead and put in your calendar, copy me on it, go ahead and put me on the invite. I'm not going to be there because shoot, I pity the fool. But when you get done, send me a selfie. It was Sunday at 10:30 p.m., which was his Monday because it's Australia at 12:30. He sent me a sweaty selfie. He said, Larry, thank you for making me work out. I said, I didn't make you. I just brought up the topic of if that's your top priority, shouldn't you be doing something around it? My wife looked at it. She said, what kind of coaching are you doing? I said, it's all good, baby, baby. But for me, when I feel burnout coming, I try to get centered. And for me, it's, where is it? Yep, I got it right here. I'm a big note taker. I got this notebook. I got notebooks everywhere. I mean, I got notebooks out the wazoo, but I like to write down why. Like, why am I doing what I'm doing? What's my core purpose? What am I trying to accomplish? What do I like about it? What do I dislike about it? And then I try to get centered to find my internal motivation for doing what I'm doing. When you have that, ain't nothing stopping you. It's kind of like McFadden and Whitehead. That's a little bit, most of your listeners are a little bit too young for that, but they had a song called Ain't No Stopping Us Now. And if you listen to the words of it, I just love the words because in the words of the great philosopher, Diddy, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, don't get me grooving up in here.
Oh my God. Too much fun. Too much fun. I agree. The why is important. You know, if, for people that know, I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek, and Start With Why is a big book for me. Because I don't look at it as much as it could be looked at as a marketing book. I look at it as a personal book. And too many times, just like he says, the reason Apple is successful is because at the center of their target, they did not say what they do. They said why they do what they're doing. And we have to operate the same way. A lot of people go, oh, I'm an SDR. I make cold calls all day. That's their what. How do you do it? Oh, I pick up the phone. Why do you do it? To make my company money. No, that's it. That's completely wrong. And I always tell people, if you're focused, if you're why you're doing is focused for your job, you're never going to perform at that job. I'd rather have you prioritize things above your job. I'd rather have you go work out than make 5 cold calls or update the CRM, because I know that if you go and do that workout, your mind is going to be more clear. And hey, if it's after dinner and you're like, oh, I forgot to update those notes, you're going to go make those notes. If you can't take care of your personal self, how can you run yourself in the course of my business? Right? Because it's the same thing about buying patterns. I tell people this all the time. People will still make personal buying decisions professionally. So speak to their emotions, speak to the persona, what they care about, right? Because at the end of the day, VP of sales is thinking about, how can I become a CRO, right? Now, they're not going to say, hey, go make me a CRO, but your product better help me solve enough challenges that I look good to my company. I look good to my network. I look good to my peers. We can raise another round of funding. I can brag about it on LinkedIn. I get noted for it. And now next thing I know, I'm running a huge sales team at Google or something, right? That's what we have to talk about. We have to talk about the outcomes and the emotions tied to those outcomes, but speak to people personally the same way that we got to do that ourselves when we're trying to prevent that burnout. So I love hearing that affirmation that you have to hold yourself to a higher standard and priority there. A big thing, especially with a lot of the listeners of the SalesRX podcast, I know we're all about goals. And so we can look at things at 5 and 10-year goals. And what I've noticed is it's very easy when we look at our long-term goals to experience short-term setbacks. Something happens that puts us back a month, 2 months, maybe even 3 months. And more often than not, I'm noticing people just completely eliminate certain goals because of something that happened over the last 3 months. How do you handle that when you're thinking about, hey, this is Larry, this is where I'm at now, this is where I want to be 10 years from now, but then something comes up where you go, oh man, the last 3 months of work I just had kind of went nowhere. You know what I mean? Like I'm kind of back to where I was 3 months ago. Should I even be pursuing that 10-year thing? Because I keep getting into these issues. You know what I mean? How do you prevent that? How do you deal with it? What are your thoughts behind that and the best way to manage it and stay strong through that?
Hey, Ted, this is so timely. Yesterday's Midweek Midday talked about the letter P, and one of the letter P's, in addition to positivity, was persistence. And we all hear the word persistence, but how do you practice? I don't know if Allen Iverson is listening, but yeah, I'm talking about practice. How do you practice? Not the game, persistence. So yeah, we all have long-term goals. Sometimes you have to balance those out with short-term objectives. On my phone, on the notes, I pretty much put my top 3. What can I do? What can I accomplish today to win the day? And I've got more than 3 things, but if I can get those 3, watch out now. Watch out now. I'm taking baby steps. So I would also say, we've got to run a marathon. And I'm not a distance runner, but life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. You try to sprint for the next 10 years, you ain't going to make it 10 years. I hate to break it to you. It just ain't going to happen. So sometimes you got to pace yourself. Yeah, we're talking about the letter P because there's so much possibility. Now, I know that sounds good. Yeah. But like my mom used to say, saying ain't doing. So I'm going to challenge anyone that's listening. Let's go ahead and do an audit of what are we doing each and every day. And yeah, setbacks are going to happen. In this game we call life, which is a 4-letter word, there's ups, there's downs, there's highs, there's lows, there's twists, there's turns. My challenge to you is, what are you learning along the way? I just went to a webinar. Actually, it was an in-person, not even a webinar. It was a panel of 5 people that talked on failure. We've got to give ourselves grace. We've got to give ourselves space to be able to fail. And it's not even really failure, is you setting the expectation. I mean, who defines failure? Failure, and I got this from one of the speakers last night, failure is practice. Yeah, we get to practice and try things out. That's a good thing. But in society, I mean, my kids are in school. It's like, if you're not perfect, you're a failure. Well, my Steve Harvey Family Feud voice survey says, nah, most successful people have had tons of failure, but they've learned along the way. They've learned from other people's quote unquote failure. They've had Sherpas to help them guide. So to wrap this up, I encourage folks to take risks, to be okay with not always being successful, but taking the nuggets out of that experience, enjoying the process, learning, growing, and then sharing that with someone else. That's what this thing is all about, man. I mean, I'm gonna get off my soapbox, but I'm passionate about this because we want to be living our best life and our blessed life. And sometimes we get caught up. I do as well. We're looking on IG, we're looking on TikTok. We see everyone flossing, LinkedIn, everyone is living the dream. And you're like, what am I doing? You're doing okay. I'm here to tell you that you're doing okay as long as you're putting forth effort, your best effort, not anyone else's best effort, your best effort. I'm going to give you what my man said from P90X, Tony Horton. Try your best and forget the rest. You can take that to the bank.
Yeah. I love it. And there are 2 additional P's that the SalesRX community knows that I love, which is preparation and planning. Spend 15 minutes at the end of the day doing something, or you'll spend 8 hours tomorrow doing absolutely nothing. It's all about, what did I get done today? What am I grateful for? What do I have to get done tomorrow? I tell every rep, that's 3 things you can spend 5 minutes on. What did I get done today? What do I got to get done tomorrow? What am I thankful for today? Boom, you're set for the next day. I know we're running up pretty quick on time here. One thing I want to divert to that I'm kind of interested in hearing about is, what is your morning routine like? How many cups of coffee do you drink? How many Red Bulls? What is the concoction? Is it like half Red Bull, Monster, chasing it with shots of espresso? What are we doing here? What's that look like?
I'm gonna surprise you. I don't do coffee. I've had coffee once in my life. That was coming back from spring break. We were playing baseball against Florida State. I had a presentation and my mom dropped by, gave me some coffee filled with cream and sugar. I hate it. I'm a Kool-Aid kid. So my thing is sugar, but I'm trying to cut down. I drink H2O. I drink water. My morning routine, it looks like this. I get up, I get myself washed, and then I have to make a sale every day. Waking up my kids at 6:30. Yeah. Hey, when you learn, you earn. It's time to get ready for school. We got to chop, chop, it's time to get ready to roll. But I absolutely love it, having that freedom to take them. We have such great conversations in the morning. My son is 12, my daughter is 8, and just their minds are just amazing. The questions that they have on their mind, it blows my mind. But that's what my morning routine is. When I see them off to school, I'm ready to conquer the world. And when you talk about why, that's a piece of my why. My kids, my beautiful wife. I lost my father 6 years ago. My father's legacy, my dad passed me the baton, and now I'm taking that baton to run the race while I'm here, and I'm looking to pass that baton on to as many people as I can. So anyone tuning in, first of all, thank you. Next, take the baton and make sure you pass that along to others. This life, it's not about us. It's not about you. It's about how many other lives you can impact for the positive. And we don't have to keep score, but you know whether you've done a good job or not. I encourage you, go out there and touch some lives for the positive.
I love it. Larry, this has been one of my favorite podcast episodes. Not to discriminate from any of my past guests, but some of you know who you are. You need to bring this energy next time I have you on, everybody. Come on. Anybody from here on out needs to bring that energy. And maybe we'll have Larry on again and he can play us a little, see that guitar back there. Maybe he can play us a little ditty or two. Larry,
don't tell my wife. That's my wife's guitar. She said, don't you dare put a finger on my guitar. You might break something. Yeah, I'm not very good at music. These are my son's drumsticks, but don't.
I love it. I love it, Larry. Oh, this has been great. Tell me, I know you have Jolt coming out in spring. Where can people find you? Where can they connect with you? Where will they be able to access the book once it's released?
Yeah, so I got a website, Larry Long Jr., that's jr.com. But the best place to find me is LinkedIn, Larry Long Jr., the man with the microphone. I got the smile for a mile. Please follow me there. Send me a message. I would love to connect. Let me know if I can ever serve, if I can ever assist you. Happy to help.
Love it. Thank you so much for your time, Larry. And to all the SalesRXers that are interested in engaging with the SalesRX community, you can find our podcast page on LinkedIn. You can also access the resources on my page as well for things like our manager resources for SDR managers and AE managers, and any SDRs interested in joining the SDR to AE program to get promoted in less than 12 months. That is available to you as well. Just click the sign up button and you can get sent an invite for our private LinkedIn community. That's all we had for today. Larry, again, happy Friday, and thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Take care.